Today I have a way to help you fall asleep faster and better. Just try closing your eyes and listening to the story I'm going to tell you. Story 1: The Old Lantern Keeper. In a quiet coastal village, far from the busy towns, stood an old stone lighthouse. Each evening, when the sun dipped below the sea, a man named Elias climbed the winding stairs with a lantern in hand. He had tended the light for over 40 years. The townsfolk said Elias spoke to the sea. He would sit at the top, sipping warm tea, watching ships twinkle in the distance. His thoughts drifted like the waves, soft, steady, and timeless. One calm evening, a boy asked Elias why he never seemed lonely. Elias smiled. "Because I've lit the way for so long, the sea keeps me company. It remembers all who've come and gone, and so, each night, the lantern glowed, not just to guide ships, but to remind the world that peace lives in quiet things." Story 2: The Forest That Listens. There was a forest where the wind always whispered, but no one knew what it said, until a small girl named Lila wandered in one morning. She brought no phone, no book, no distractions. Just herself and curiosity. The trees rustled gently as she passed, and the leaves fell in slow spirals as if greeting her. She sat near an ancient oak and said softly, "Hello." The breeze returned a hush, like a warm sigh. Each day after, Lila came to listen. And though the forest never spoke in words, it told her stories, in scents of moss, in shifting shadows, in the rhythm of birdsong. At night, Lila would lie in bed and still hear the hush of the forest in her dreams. It had no voice, but it had a heart. Story 3: The Boat That Waited. An old wooden boat rested on the shore of a quiet lake. No one had used it in years. Children would run past it without a glance, but the boat was never sad. It was waiting. One misty morning, a man with silver hair approached. He touched the edges of the boat and whispered, "Still here?" The boat creaked gently. The man remembered summers long gone, fishing with his father, falling asleep under the stars, laughter echoing across the water. That morning, he pushed the boat into the lake once more. It rocked softly, remembering how to float. He didn't need to go far. Just a few gentle rows, the sound of water tapping the wood, and the breeze reminding him that some things, like peace, return when you're ready. Story 4: The Clock That Slept Through Time. In the corner of a little stone house, sat a grandfather clock that hadn't ticked in years. Dust had settled on its brass, but the silence was not sad, it was soft. The house belonged to no one anymore, yet the fireplace still held old warmth, and the air smelled faintly of cinnamon and pine. One winter night, snow whispered against the windows, and the clock stirred. It let out a faint chime, not loud, not proud, just a note of memory. Time hadn't moved for the clock, yet it remembered everything: laughter in the living room, pages of books turning, the hush of quiet tea moments. That night, as the wind danced outside, the clock fell back asleep. But if you listened closely, you'd hear its ticking, not from gears, but from memories. Story 5: The Firefly's Shadow. On a full moon night, A little boy named Pin lives in a quiet village tucked between the hills. One night, he follows the soft glow of fireflies deep into the woods, where he discovers a giant tree believed to be the home of the Spirit of Light, a guardian of children's dreams. The spirit gives him a tiny glowing firefly that now lights the path in his dreams every night. Since then, Pin is never afraid of the dark again. Story 6. The Wind Through the Old Log Cabin. A grandfather tells his grandson a bedtime story about an old wooden cabin deep in the forest, long abandoned, yet still echoing with the whispers of wind through its beams. Though no one lives there anymore, it's said that if you listen closely, you can hear stories the wind carries, memories of laughter, warmth, and love that once filled the cabin long ago. Story 7. The Cat Who Watched the Stars. Every night, a small gray cat climbs up to the roof of a cottage by the lake. She sits quietly, watching the stars as if waiting for a message from the sky. Some say she once belonged to an old stargazer, and now she keeps watch in his place. On especially quiet nights, if you sit beside her, you might hear the stars whisper tales from faraway worlds. Thank you so much for listening to these bedtime stories. If you enjoyed them, please give a like and follow the channel for more gentle tales to help you relax and drift into peaceful sleep. Wishing you sweet dreams and a calm, restful night. Good night.